Táin Cúailnge, the Cattle Raid of Cooley. The Cattle Raid of Cooley is an epic from Irish mythology. It is often called the Irish Iliad. The tale is traditionally set in the 1st century in a pagan heroic age, and is the central text of a group of tales known as the Ulster Cycle. Long ago in ancient Ireland, Queen Medb of Connacht was a mighty warrior and ruler. Her power and influence were vast, and this was only boosted when she married a man named Ailill. One night in bed, her husband mentioned to Medb that since he became her partner her life improved hugely. Queen Medb got angry of this claim. Medb and Ailill decided to compare their wealth to solve the disagreement once and for all. Servants were called and instructed to gather all of the pair's valuables and to place them in piles before them. They matched in riches, land, and treasures, but one thing tipped the balance. Ailill owned a magnificent, white-horned bull, a stud bull with a pedigree so rich that people traveled from across the world to avail of its power. Medb, proud and headstrong, could not bear to be second to her husband. She swore to find a bull as great or greater. Medb knew of a bull in Ireland that, if she possessed it, would help her beat her husband. It was owned by a man named Dair Mac Fiachna, a wealthy landowner in Ulster. Medb sent one of her messengers to request a lend of the bull for 1 year. In return, Queen Medb would provide Mac Fiachna with 50 of her finest cows, the finest plot of land in Connacht and a golden chariot. He requested some time to think. Mac Fiachna was no fool. He knew that saying no to Queen Medb would end badly for him, and besides, her offer was more generous than he would have thought possible. While he sat and thought, the messenger sent by Queen Medb decided to kill some time in the local pub. He became drunk and started to tell locals how that if Mac Fiachna had said no, they would have forcefully taken the bull. Word got back to Mac Fiachna and he was enraged. He sent the messengers on their way with a message to Queen Medb that the bull would remain where it was. Queen Medb was furious and decided, "If I cannot buy the bull, I will take it." Queen Medb was in the midst of preparing herself for the war when a servant knocked on her door to tell her of the arrival of a fortune-teller by the name of Fed-Elm. The fortune-teller told Medb about a horrific vision that they had the previous night that scared Medb. She told of a young warrior from Ulster who was more powerful than any in Ireland. His name was Cúailnge and he was said to be ready and waiting for Queen Medb's army. Queen Medb gathered a mighty army from across Ireland. Warriors, kings, and mercenaries marched with her toward Ulster. But as they reached the border, something strange happened. The men of Ulster collapsed in pain, cursed by an ancient spell that struck them like the pangs of childbirth. The curse, which was called the Pangs of Ulster, was a curse put upon the men of Ulster by Macha, a goddess of ancient Ireland. The curse forced the men of Ulster to be incapacitated. And fighting was the last thing on their minds. The only man on whom the curse had no effect was Cúailnge. Cúailnge decided to stand alone against Medb's invasion. Cúailnge was not an ordinary man. He was trained by the warrior witch Scathack. He had the strength of 100 men and a terrible battle rage that twisted his body into monstrous shapes. Cúailnge killed the first 300 men that Queen Medb sent into battle. Word got back to her about what was happening, and she decided to send a messenger to Cúailnge to offer him great riches to change sides, but he rejected the offer. The queen was going to fail. So, she asked Fergus, Cúailnge's stepfather, to enter the battle. Once he arrived at the battle, he realized that he could not go through with it. Ferdiad was Cúailnge's closest friend, his foster brother, trained beside him in Scotland. Medb then discovered that Cúailnge had a foster brother by the name of Ferdia. However, it became clear quickly that Ferdia didn't want to go up against Cúailnge. Ferdia refused to meet with Queen's messenger. Queen Medb was furious. In an attempt to influence his decision, the Queen spread the word that Ferdia was a coward, and that he was scared of Cúailnge. Ferdia agreed to meet with the Queen. When he arrived at the meeting point, he discovered a great feast had been prepared. He also noticed a beautiful woman sat at the table next to the queen. She was her daughter. Medb encouraged Ferdia to drink. He became drunk, and when Queen Medb promised him her daughter's hand in marriage, he agreed. And this pushed him to the battlefield. Ferdia traveled to meet Cúailnge the following day. Cúailnge realized that Ferdia was drunk with love and that there was no point in trying to persuade him to walk away. For 3 days, the brothers battled. Wounds opened and closed again, spears shattered, shields splintered. On the 3rd day, desperate and weeping, Cúailnge called on his deadliest weapon, the gíbalga, a barbed spear only he could wield. This was a notched spear that was given to him by the one who taught him how to fight, Scathac, a mythical warrior queen. With it, he struck Ferdiad down. As the sun set, Cúailnge cradled his dying friend, crying, "It was not right, my heart is broken." Wounded in body and soul, he fought on. But the warriors of Ulster were finally recovering. They rose like a storm, drove back Queen Medb's forces, and reclaimed their land. Medb fled. But she had stolen the brown bull too. She returned to Connacht. But fate had one last twist. Ailill's white-horned bull saw the brown bull and charged. The two beasts clashed across mountains and valleys, gouging and goring, roaring through the land. The two fought for one whole day and night. The following morning, the people of Connacht awoke to realize that the bull from Cooley had killed Ailill's bull. The end. What is your idea of the tale? Did you find it interesting? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching.